Hello, my name is Kelly. I'm the mother of Tamera Sanders, a 29-year-old murder victim who was killed on the fire on Howland Hill Road and Birch Avenue here in Crescent City. Michelle Green suggested Tamera's death was a suicide. For any of you that don't know, that's the coroner's assistant. If that was the case, my daughter poured accelerant all over herself, locked the door from the outside somehow, and lit herself on fire. Michelle Green continued to tell us flabbergasting, ludicrous stories for 15 days before I was even able to speak to a deputy. Ludicrous stories such as a rat knocked a piece of metal off a beam, sparking the fire. She bore no understanding of how her ego and theories could hurt a mother faced with a traumatic death. When Tamera's first autopsy was offensively inaccurate, I paid $700 so she would be exhumed, and I paid $6,500 for a second autopsy. The second autopsy found my daughter's body had an elongated cylindrical cavity with defined walls in her left flank. This indicates the possibility of a gunshot wound. If this were the case, she shot herself in the left flank, possibly in the frontotemporal lobe. The possibility of this, she shot herself in the left flank, locked the door from the outside, doused herself in chemicals, and lit a fire to herself. And about 3/4 of that building. It's very obvious that it was an arson. There's a sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury claiming the night of the fire he heard 3 gunshots and Tamera scream. I was told Deputy Amezcua saw a gun and shell casings on the scene when he arrived. I stand before you and ask that Deputy Amezcua be able to speak about what he saw when he found Tamera's remains on May 3rd, 2021, just after midnight. Amezcua transferred from this Del Norte County Sheriff's Office after Sheriff Apperson resigned and Sheriff Randy Waltz, who was accused of felony. I have documents stating Amezcua found my daughter's body, and yet no one can give me a report that he wrote. No one at the Del Norte County Sheriff's Department will give me the document he would have written after being the first to arrive on the scene. The first person at the scene of my daughter's murder has had no voice in the investigation. The person who would be responsible for the most important report of the entire case, the report of the initial scene, the report that would memorialize the suspicious circumstances they reference, has been given no representation of his view on the case. I have no doubt in my mind that this case was a deputy cover-up. Del Norte Sheriff's Office won't give me Amezcua's report if it exists, because it has information that will continue to confirm my suspicions that they are denying my family justice. I have someone that I suspect of Tamera's murder, and I have people who back up my suspicions. 3 people came forward to Del Norte Sheriff's Office saying that they believed that this suspect was responsible for killing my daughter. Tamera's death was not a suicide. Her death was not simply suspicious. It was a homicide. The Del Norte Sheriffs have denied my daughter and my family justice. They've denied us justice without even pretending they haven't. They've not only let a man go away with murder, they've incentivized him to kill more. I stand before you asking you to please demand the Sheriff's Department investigate the Gill brothers, deputies. We demand that the deputies who were involved be investigated. We demand Michelle Green be investigated. We demand that there be a policy change that enforces people can't sign off on burial without full knowledge of the circumstances. This is corruption, this is injustice, and because of this injustice and corruption, a murderer has gone free and our family has faced continual police brutality for 3 years. This was my daughter, Tamera. She wrote this poem when she was 10 years old because she was so impacted by 9/11. This shows her spirit. And I have documents for you, but I have 2 more people to speak. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you for your comment. Would anybody else like to come up and speak?
Hello, my name is Logan. I'm the brother of Tamera Sanders, a 29-year-old murder victim. My family has faced nothing but abuse and dismissal regarding Tamera's death. My mom was told about Tamera's death over the phone when she was home alone. No one arrived to deliver the news in person, to offer emotional support or empathy at a time when my mom was faced with the worst thing a mother could ever experience, the death of a child. No matter who we ask or who we call, we get different variations of their lie. No matter what we do or what we say, they waffle in their attempts at placating our rage as we try to pursue justice for Tamera. First it was an accident, then it was a suicide. A person called Tamera and homeless people strays when talking to my mom. In a time when we deserve to be faced with sympathy, compassion, and condolences, they called her a stray. The only person my mom was allowed to talk to for the first 6 weeks of knowing what happened were Michelle Green and Diana Stanley. Michelle Green told my mom that she should be grateful that she identified Tamera, that she, quote, solved this as quickly as she did. She was rude and upset in the face of our disappointment that Tamera was buried with our consent. Without our consent, we are not excited by how efficient Michelle was when she could not communicate and show empathy with my mom. The owner of Goebel's Mortuary told my mom that the law requires attempted contact with the family for 30 days before anything happens to a body, then another 10 days for a response. Despite having everything needed for identification and suspicions of Tamera's identity on the day of the fire, she was signed off for burial by Alicia Northrup as a Jane Doe less than 30 days after the fire. CT scans are standard practice in fire victims, and Michelle Green says that we are incapable of getting access to the images because they are encrypted, then sent us still images on a DVD. When asking for a change in cause of death, my mom faces dismissal. We've been lambasted with absurdist theories to blame Tamera for her death. Every attempt we make at seeking the truth is responded to with patronizing remarks about how my mom should have gratitude that they did less than the bare minimum of their job. My mom called to ask why Tamera could be buried without family consent, and Alicia, the one responsible for signing off on the burial, recently said we should be glad they didn't cremate her, that we should be grateful they didn't cremate Tamera when they hadn't even concluded if it was a suicide, a homicide, or an accident, when the official autopsy report wasn't finished until over a month later. That we should be appreciative that they didn't destroy potential evidence in bringing our family and Tamera Sanders justice. After all our heartache and suffering, all the effort to bring justice to Tamera, the triplicate published quotes from Randy Waltz regarding Tamera's death. On July 23, 2021, Waltz said there were no obvious signs of foul play or signs of arson. McManus said on 5/22/2024 that he, quote, would rather spend time with his kids than listen to my mom's nonsense, and that he still had no evidence that this was a homicide, end quote. I would say possible bullet wounds and doors being locked from the outside are a clear indication of foul play. To this very day, the Del Norte County Sheriff Department continues to lead my family on, continues to trickle out information and lead us to believe that maybe one day something will happen. They've been stringing us along for years and denying our family any semblance of justice. Thank you for your time.
Please.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm the sibling of Tamera Sanders, a 29-year-old murder victim. My sister's first autopsy was botched, denying us the truth of what happened to her. The first autopsy claimed to be performed by Dr. Olson and Michelle Green as the assistant. Their report claims there were no natural or traumatic abnormalities to the head. However, the second autopsy clearly found a 2-centimeter curved irregular defect on the left frontotemporal region. The first autopsy report outright declares the presence of Tamera's chest plate, tongue, as well as liver. However, in the second autopsy, there is no chest plate or tongue present, and the largest internal organ, the liver, was gone. The first autopsy indicated there was food digesting. Will not specify, that indicates that a stomach was present, but that too was missing, with the esophagus among other organs when exhumed for her second autopsy. To my horror, as Tamera's sibling, the initial autopsy report from Dr. Olson and Michelle Green stated that her uterus and her ovaries looked normal. Between the making of this report and Tamera's second autopsy, her reproductive organs went missing. Michelle Green has had the gall since the first autopsy to claim that nothing has gone missing, nothing was removed and not put back in the viscera bag or the brown paper bag that they put in her. And the report claims nothing was kept, yet multiple parts of Tamera went missing between autopsies. Where Dr. Olson and Michelle Green put abdomen, a good pathologist broke it down into 3 separate categories. Where Dr. Olson and Michelle Green put head and neck, copied and pasted their summary, a good pathologist had multiple sections for both the head and neck. There are so many holes in this autopsy, it almost seems like it didn't truly happen, almost like Swiss cheese. The first autopsy put all the information under evidence of injury and told readers to refer to that instead of explaining what happened to each body part. I don't believe that Dr. Olson performed this autopsy. I personally believe that Michelle Green wrote the autopsy with the belief that she was giving it to a family of idiots. They spelled my sister's middle name wrong. They wrote their autopsy report in Arial font, then expect us to believe that they aren't responsible for the missing organs. They were in custody of her body when it happened, when her organs went missing. When Michelle Green has been nothing but unprofessional since the very beginning, as if writing an autopsy in size 13 Arial font isn't beyond unprofessional, rude, and compassionless. My family knows this is a murder case, yet everyone continues to tell us this is an accident they are not even transparent about in their own autopsy report, that they won't even officiate because they know it's wrong. Yet we are told to be grateful they didn't destroy my sister's body any more than the removal of her organs. My sister was buried before the final autopsy report was finished, buried when death wasn't determined, and buried when such a botched and useless autopsy that might as well have never have happened. And she was buried before the family was notified. I want anyone and everyone who was present at my sister's autopsy to be investigated. I want Michelle Green investigated. And most importantly, I want justice for my sister, Tamera Sanders. Thank you.
Thank you guys for your comments.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
We can't respond at this time, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But thank you for speaking up.
I do have some documents here.
If you would pass it over to Kylie, please.
Is that fine? Where is it?
Okay. So at this time, I'll ask for any other public comment out there. Please come on up.
Yeah, books and just that. Third page.
You guys need to listen to this, because after that fire, I went up there. Now, the gentleman that owns that building, I had known for a minute, and he showed me inside of that building, and it was just, a hoarder's dream. So for that gal to have crawled into the building somehow, that didn't happen. There was hardly room for a body to be on the floor of that building. And excuse me. There was no way for her to get out because it was locked. She couldn't unlock it from the inside. You need to investigate it. Michelle Green. That's not the first time I've heard her name doing underhanded things. There was a kid, mother called me there was a kid who was found dead, and there was blood coming out of his head. But I saw the videotapes of what the sheriff's department did and didn't do. And then this kid was a UPS driver, okay? And when the parent went to get the belongings back from the mortuary, the kid's watch, his watch had been stolen. Well, Michelle Green told the parents there was no valuables, but the guy in the mortuary said there was. And if she was hired by Apperson, you have cause to believe that she's underhanded. So I feel for this family, I get it, but you folks need to start talking to somebody. The sheriff didn't even bother showing up today. Okay, so I don't know, you need to listen to what's being said. Thank you.
He did know about it too.
And just for the record, the sheriff tried his hardest to get here. He is tied up in something he couldn't get away from, so he was on his way.
My name is Neil Griffiths. Tamara was like a daughter to me. I don't know what happened. I just know that everything that Kelly's done, the things that she's found, there's obviously something going on here. So I don't know if you guys can help us or not, but we have nowhere else to turn. Nowhere. So I don't know if coming here today was the right thing or not, but we're asking you if you can help. Please help us. Our daughter's dead.
Thank you.